Hey everybody, welcome back to our neck of the woods. And as you can see from my attire and the title of the video, we did harvest a deer this year on the very first day of muzzleloader, which is kind of the ending of the season here coming up, at least muzzleloader. There's no more gun or anything. I think there's archery for a few more days, but we were able to get one on our own property. So today we've got to spend some time butchering the animal, getting it all cleaned up. We do need to build a rig here in the garage and we need to make a gambrel. So let me show you what I got going on and what I'm talking about. All right, now I know there's people out there who are not hunters, whether you're vegan, vegetarian, or even if you are a meat eater, but you don't believe in hunting. My view on hunting is that it is a population control thing. In the state of Ohio, we harvest almost 180 to 190,000 deer every year. So with that many deer going unharvested, you can imagine how many more deer we would have on the roads and highways, and possibly causing traffic accidents, human fatalities, and just car insurances going through the year if that all happened every single year. So we are talking about a population control here, but we're also talking about keeping the animals more safe. They don't die of starvation. If there's so many, you're gonna obviously be dwindling down on what they can eat and drink throughout the year. Much of northeast of America is having to deal with certain types of diseases that are going around. So there are a few counties in Ohio that you have to be wary about what you're harvesting. And if you're noticing anything on the animal, like there's a blue tongue disease, there's like a zombie disease where they get like tumors and stuff off their bodies. And then there's a CWD disease where they're basically like a neurological brain disease. You can walk right up to the animal and be like touching it and it's literally just kind of like frozen there. And then within a few minutes to a few hours, the animal is dead. So imagine having that many more disease running around or that many more deer running around and you're not helping control that population. And in Ohio, we really only have coyotes. We don't have wolves, we don't have bear, we don't have mountain lions. Coyotes obviously can take, you know, the yearlings and the real, you know, the spotteds, you know, that are just born, etc. And again, you can just imagine if you don't help control that population, what it can do. So we are looking to harvest deer here only for meat, not for sport. I've said this before, I'm not out looking for the biggest antler or anything. I'm just looking for an animal that's of good size, that's in a herd or a good population out here taking one down. And this is only the second deer that I've actually taken on this property in about 5 years time frame. I do not hunt here every single year because I don't want to dwindle my own population. I will actually go to other parts of Ohio, etc. and hunt. And if you look at the map above right here, you'll see that Ohio is a 2-county, a 3-county, or a 4-county maximum bag limit that you are allowed to take. And as you can see, most of the counties in Ohio are 3 deer acceptable. So there are plenty out there. I'm sure the department every single year takes that into consideration for how many are being harvested, how many potentially could be illegally harvested, disease, hit by trucks, starvation, etc. So they adjust those limits every single year to keep the population still within control so that we are not hurting it and we are doing our part to feed our families and again, keep everything in tap. And there really is no disservice by doing this. So if you feel bad about it, if you're here and you don't want to watch, I'm not going to be showing anything grotesque. There's going to be no blood or guts or anything like that. It's just kind of how to process it real quick, picking out what type of meat off the animal that we want. And again, we need to go ahead and get a rack hung up. We need to make a gambrel, which again, I'll talk about that in 1 second. And I'll tell you guys the backstory and basically what I used and how we did it this year. All right, so first thing first, we need to take this little 3/8 piece of steel rod and we need to turn it into a gambrel. I have no idea why it's called a gambrel, but basically it's something to go through the hind legs so we can get it to hang up. And yeah, you can buy one off of Amazon, you can get one at the store, etc. But it's fun to make our own stuff here. So we're gonna bend it with some heat. We're gonna sharpen the ends where it goes through the legs, and then we're gonna weld on some reinforcements, but I'm not really sure why it's called a gambrel, because to me a gambrel truss is what a barn looks like. So it's got that pitch of the roof that goes down and out, then it goes down and out again at a different angle, and then it eventually attaches, as opposed to a gambrel. To me looks like more like a common truss. So I don't think you'd want to call it a common, because no one would have any idea what you're talking about, as opposed to a gambrel. But that's just weird, it's the same name when they don't even look the same. But we need to go ahead and basically we're gonna bend this thing with some heat at the middle. Then we're gonna bend the edges up a little bit and make some spike hooks on them. We'll go ahead and weld on a bottom reinforcement, and then we'll go ahead and weld on like a V pattern to give it some structural strength. And that should just take a few minutes here. Actually, you're probably watching it as I'm doing it right now. And once that's done, we'll go ahead and make kind of like our tripod stand here so that we can hang it from. And then we should get to processing the meat and storing it away. And then we should wrap it up and be done for this video. All right, gambrel is made up.
That looks like what you would buy from a store.
Hindsight 2020, should have made it a little wider. Maybe another foot or so, but 3/8 of steel. This thing's probably more than enough to hang up a couple 100 pounds with ease. Obviously I wouldn't try like a 1,200 pound boar or something, but that wouldn't be wide enough anyway. But for a little 150 to 200 pound deer, this should be more than enough. So let's go ahead and get the lumber set up. Let's go ahead and make a tripod, or I might do 4 or 2 on one side, 2 on the other, and hang across, and then like put a back brace on to make it a little more structurally sound. And then we got some pulleys and some rope. So let's get all that done, and then we can go ahead and get this guy tested out. Alrighty, so that should do it. Sorry the camera died, but the kind of deer hanger stand is made up. Simply put 2 boards up top, ran like a double U-hook all the way up through there, and there's a plate and bolts on top that came in just a little package for like $1. One side of the string is knotted and tied up through that board, so the knot can't pull down through. And then of course the pulley just hooks onto that like U-bracket. And then of course we've got our other pulley down here with our gambrel. So we got enough length This is probably still gonna be pretty heavy. She is a big girl. I would say she's gotta be close to 200 pounds, if not over 200 pounds.
That's a huge bitch.
But I did obviously go ahead and take out all of the guts last night when I went ahead and field dressed it. So now we just gotta get her in here. Again, we only have like a 2 pulley, so I think 2 pulleys cut the weight in half. So that means I'd have to be lifting like 100 pounds by myself on this thin little rope. So we'll see how it goes. If they would have had like double pulley here and double pulley here, then that probably should have cut the weight down to probably 50 pounds only. But I don't know, we'll see how easy it is to lift. I do have a tarp for the floor. And then with my years of experience watching Dexter, we do have it went ahead and laid out here, prep table and everything, and where we can put the meat and everything. And then Erin will vacuum seal everything up because she did buy one of those, because that's another problem with the meat and other products that we're dealing with right now. I'm sure many of you by now have seen the memes, like for this Thanksgiving, we're not doing any egg hunt because eggs in the grocery store are up to like $8.99, $9.99, or almost up to $12 for like organic, just for a dozen eggs. So we're talking like $1 a piece. So for us to save on meat at 40 or 50 pounds here in Ohio, because this is my own property, I don't need a license and I don't need a permit. When I called in this morning, or actually went to the website, you just put your name and address and everything, and I think it goes, you got 4 different options. You can use your driver's license or social security number or whatever, and as long as you harvest it on your own property, it is completely free. So I literally paid for a bullet to be able to harvest my own deer. And yes, this is extremely tall, if anyone is saying anything. These 2x10s or 2x4s by 10 foot will not go to waste. They will be down for the basement so we can finish out the basement bedroom walls and everything. And lumber is back down to its original pricing. So these things are only about $3, and a 2x8 I think is back down into the $2 range. So astronomically cheap right now on lumber. So nothing will go to waste. And this is just gonna be super simple and easy to use. So let's get a tarp down here on the floor to keep everything clean, and we'll go get it, and I'll tell you a little story about what happened. All right, so I did get it last night. Like I said, the first day of muzzle loader, and I did go ahead and get a new muzzle loader for this year. I've always used my dad's. He has a Traditions, and then he also has like an old school style. And we don't live really close to each other, so I just thought it'd be easier for me to go out and look for my own. And when I went to the store, pretty much everyone was out of stock except for a local Cabela's, and they had this Traditions Buckstalker XT in stock, along with I think 2 other ones, but the other 2 were only in 45 caliber, and this was in 50 caliber. And what I like about the new style as opposed to my dad's you can't break apart. He does have a Traditions, but he has one that you can't break apart. So once you load everything in there, you can't see anything or do anything, and cleaning it is a little bit harder, etc. But with the new models, they're kind of breech loading. So you can take out this rear thing right here, and that is where your primer sits in. And then you can get a real deep clean on these, and it's just way easier of a breakdown and everything and how to use. And what blew me away about this thing, I believe it has a 24-inch barrel, so good distance, good velocity, etc. But what I liked about it, only $219, not even on sale. That was just absolutely dirt cheap. And by the time I got the rings and the Picatinny rails and the scope, I think all of this up here was somewhere right around $100. It's a Bushnell Banner 2. I've got plenty of Bushnell scopes, but the banner that I have on my 444 Marlin is literally just crosshairs. But this Banner 2 has crosshairs, but on the bottom, it also has elevation marks. Not that you're gonna be using this for anything long range. Any of the straight wall cartridges or the muzzle loaders, you're probably gonna go out to about 200 yards no matter what. And because the velocity is just not there, and the speed and the drop is gonna be a lot by then. But this scope was literally only $89 at Walmart. And I think the rings were like 10 and the Picatinny was like 10. So absolutely dirt cheap, and I was able to sight it in no problem at 100 yards and get under a 1 MOA group or a 1-inch group at 100 yards. So absolutely completely easy to sight in, and it just worked really well. It just does its job. It's what it's supposed to do. But the reason why I did want the 50 cal is because with a 50 cal, you can actually use a 50 cal projectile, or you can use a 45 caliber in what's called a sabot round, and that's got plastic around it, but it's only a 45. So they can be lighter, more aerodynamic, etc. than like a bigger, fatter 50. But to be honest with you, either one of them are gonna work. It just depends on the bullet and how accurate it is. But with a Traditions Sabot 45, I was able to get under a 1 MOA group. And I got her last night a little after 5 o'clock. So sundown, I think, is like 5:45, and you're allowed to go 30 minutes after sunset, and you're allowed to go out 30 minutes before sunrise when there is light in the air. And there were 4 of them in the backyard. I ended up picking the biggest female. I did want a buck this year only because that one huge buck that we have does look to be getting older in age. So he's kind of already spread his seed around. This new 8-point buck, probably a buck that we saw last year that was like a 6-point or something. He's obviously growing up. He's gonna be the dominant male here in the future. So I did kind of want to take the big guy, but I just wanted to put meat on the table. It really wasn't that big of a deal. If he is still able to fight and reproduce, I'll let him continue to keep breeding. We've got plenty of does around here. So all 4 of them were in the backyard, watched them for about a half of an hour, and then I didn't see any of the bucks coming in, so I just finally decided to take the shot on her. And I didn't even think I had gotten her because I had shot, she ran away, did the whole tail up and hop and hop and hop, and she went for a while and she disappeared into the woods. And I went ahead because I knew it was gonna get dark soon if I had to find her somewhere. So I got my headlamp and a flashlight, and when I went back over to where I took the shot, 0 blood, 0 fur, absolutely nothing. I was like, there is no freaking way I missed, because I took the shot probably at only about 50 yards. There's no way I missed. But I did see the other 3 out in the field looking back at me, and that told me, well, there's not a 4th, so I had to have gotten her. Luckily, the way our property is set up, we've got this massive kind of rectangle here that the house and property is on, but I've got a 33-foot long strip that goes from the corner over there almost a quarter of a mile down the street. I think it's just under 1,800 feet long, 33 feet wide. That's mine. And luckily, when she went that way and went through the neighbor's yard, she actually went down on my 33 feet. So I did not have to go and knock to all of my neighbors and say, hey, can I get this deer out of your backyard? Luckily, it was still on mine. And over where she had went down, again, 0 blood. I had absolutely no idea what took her down until I gutted it last night. And I found a small little entrance hole through the rib cage on the side, right behind the rear shoulder blade. Nothing on the inside. I didn't see a lung or anything. Everything came out kind of clean. And then when I went up and grabbed the heart, I found a complete little entrance hole and a bigger, maybe 1 to 2 inch hole out the back side of the heart. So clean kill, hopefully a very short and easy death for it. But I could not believe there was no blood, and that 45 sabot round that's supposed to be a hollow point and explode and actually cause more damage. I can't believe it only put kind of to me, a small hole through the heart. And if I would have missed the heart, I don't know what it would have done with the expansion and everything, but that is very common to have a completely dead animal, no heart that can pump any longer, and they end up taking off running sometimes a couple 100 yards. I would say she only took off maybe 50 to 60 yards before I found her, or where I found her from where I took the shot, but it is quite amazing what they can do on pure adrenaline. And if you don't end up hitting anything that actually takes them down, like on the last few years, I actually ended up taking down a few bucks. They were dead before they hit the ground, because I think the shock wave and everything was so hard. I think I might have actually ripped kind of the spinal cord, and it killed them instantly. Not only took out like a heart and a lung, but actually basically like kind of snapped their spine. But yeah, that little round, I may have to sight in next year for maybe like a bigger 50, something that actually has better expansion, because it is a hollow point with a polymer tip for aerodynamics, but I just can't believe it didn't cause more internal internal damage, but luckily straight through the heart, and take it out in a really short period of time with no suffering involved. All right, so viewer discretion from this point out as advised, but here she is. I'm gonna try and show as little as possible, but very, very good sized doe. Way lighter. I ended up dragging her 50, 60 yards yesterday from where I got her over to back to my like straight shot back to the woods. I hadn't got it yet. I did it when I strung her up outside in the way that I've always been taught to do it. When you're gutting, obviously, you just take all the guts and everything out into the field. Then when you get back to where you are, we string them up by the neck, we cut the esophagus, and we reach up and pull out the heart and lungs and the esophagus. And then you can stick a hose down and completely wash everything out, which is what I did last night. So now that she's completely gutted and I opened up the breastplate with my little hatchet and the pubic bone, everything has come out, and she's got to be a good 50, 60 pounds lighter, because that was way easier to drag her up this way. But it also helps that rigor mortis is set in, and last night it probably got down to about 20 degrees, maybe 25 actually. So a lot stiffer and easier to move around now. But let's see if I can do this on my own to get it strung up. The way that we're doing this is right here behind the knee. They basically call it kind of like the Achilles tendon. You don't want to cut this Achilles right here, and then in front of the bone here, you just pinch on through, and that can hoist it up. So now we're in the reverse. So we started off hanging it once from the head to get everything out, and that was just to let it sit last night. But now we're actually doing the butchering process. It's easier to go head down, and that way when we actually pull everything off, it'll come off easier. But I'm not gonna show a whole lot of it here. I'm just gonna get it strung up, see if I can do it, and then we'll start carving and see what meat that we can get. Oh, and if you're asking what we are gonna do about the meat, thank you, Mom and my stepdad, Jim. They ended up buying a really big, nice refrigerator for their house, kinda right before like COVID hit. And it's got to be like $2,000 or $3,000. Just a huge French door refrigerator with 2 freezer drawers below. Something ended up breaking on it, and the manufacturer gave them all of their money back, but did not take the refrigerator back because a part inside was broken after they did an assessment of it. So they went back and bought the exact same refrigerator. COVID finished up. They got the $200 or $300 part that broke, put it into the other refrigerator. Now they've got 2 of the exact same refrigerators that for my birthday, they said, that refrigerator's yours. You just got to come get it. So we got to find a way to get like a box truck with a lift gate so we can go down there and get it and then bring it back here. But it doesn't fit our decor 100%, so we're probably gonna store it out here in the garage. But I will have a massive 2-drawer freezer and refrigerator out here in the garage that we can store more stuff now, and I can't wait. So that's where all the meat's gonna go as soon as I go get it. But again, thanks to Mom and Jim for the pretty inexpensive but awesome birthday gift. All right, so I'm not gonna show it, but the first thing is just removing the front legs and the head, and then we'll go ahead and start cutting around the back fur and everything. And then that way you can basically just pull everything off because the head is gone and the front legs are off, and it'll just pull right on out through, and then you'll be left with just a carcass. So, or not the carcass, you'll be left with just the meat. The carcass and everything will come right off. So it's very simple and easy to do this way. But so far, the rig is holding up. I wish that rope was a little bit wider because that definitely hurts my hand. But let's get the butchering and getting some meat on the table. All right, everybody, just working through everything. It is all skinned and it is all done. So far, I have got the front shoulders off. I've got most of the neck meat. And then again, I don't know if I'm gonna get demonetized for this, but kind of the fillet of a deer is the main back straps or the outer back straps. That's simply just a cut down this way, a cut along the rib cage, and you pull them out. Luckily, because Erin has been trying to save on meat here, she's got one of these vacuum sealers in the house. So I just went ahead and cut up all of the back straps into about 5 or 6 of these packages because these things were huge. They're thick. Now, I don't know how much each one of these packages weigh, but this entire bag for at least of the outer back straps, and an expert out there can tell me if I did good. This is 6 pounds worth of meat right here on just the outer back straps. We still have to go on the inside and get the inner back straps out. And I don't know what everything is gonna go to what, but I am gonna try and keep everything separated, like neck meat, shoulder meat, inner and outer back straps. We've got rear quarters. And then as you can see, even though I cut the back straps off, yes, you can still see a bunch of red in here and stuff around the rib cage. So once we get the main pieces off, we will be going through and just taking all of this out. And that's really what you should be sending to like a grinder. So maybe depending on the price of one, I might go ahead and just buy a grinder offline. So that way we can go ahead and just make our own like hamburger, or you can use it for taco meat or anything else that you can use ground meat or ground, I want to say beef, but ground deer for. But that's kind of the game plan. So that's good that we're on our way. Again, online, I saw a good butcher on a good sized deer can maybe get a little bit above 60 pounds worth of meat. Someone like me that's an amateur, hopefully you can get about 50 something. So we'll try to cut every little bit out that we can, put it into a stew, put it in the ground, whatever we can. But we need to obviously get each and every individual section off so that that can be that can be that, etc. But first 6 pounds are cut up, sealed away. Gonna go ahead and get them in the refrigerator. Get each one of these inside one at a time, washed up, get all the blood off, vacuum sealed, especially with the shoulder, which by the way, I do see a bullet hole through the shoulder. So that's probably why there wasn't a lot of blood and there wasn't a lot of damage. I nicked just the back of this shoulder, I think. So that would have obviously started the expansion of the bullet. Then it went into the rib cage. It made a nice clean hole into the rib cage though. It hadn't expanded that much. Yeah, I mean, I can't even put my finger in through the bone that it had gone right through a rib. Again, we're just lucky that it did end up going and getting into that the heart and taking him out, or her, pretty quickly. But I'm gonna continue on through this video. I think you guys get the idea. I will package everything up. We'll get it clean, washed, and vacuum sealed. And then I will give you an overall tally on what I think a 200-pound deer, what it yielded us in for meat. And again, yes, I spent some money on some of this stuff here. Obviously the wood we're gonna reuse, but you know, 10 bucks on that steel, 10 bucks on those pulleys, etc. I already had the rope. But it's nice that, again, all of this meat is essentially free to us because we didn't have to pay anything for it. And I will let you guys know what the total yield is here in a little bit. All right, everybody, I am done for the day. That was some grueling work. I think I went for 12 hours now that I've been up. I think I've been up since about 6. It's 6 right now. I can't remember when I made my first cut. Or, I mean, obviously I had to build this thing too. But that was a good several hours of cutting. Not a whole lot left over. Obviously there's tons of fat that I cut off. Stuff hit the floor. This kind of rear end right here is covered in nothing but fat, and there was a little bit of feces that I saw, so I kind of cut in around. So I maybe lost like 1/4 pound or something on that. But that is an absolute ton of fat and everything right there. That would be good for like ground beef or summer sausage or something like that. I haven't really decided what I'm gonna do yet. I did put all of the rear quarters into bags and everything. The neck, the ribs, the legs, and the front shoulders, those are all kind of just chopped up into 1,000 pieces. So technically, front shoulders, neck, ribs, and rear legs, that can all go into like ground beef. I just need a grinder. But the rear quarters and the inner and outer back straps, that can all go pretty much just cook it as it is. Whether it be roasts or kind of like the back straps are kind of like your fillets. So that will be just good all by itself. But like I said, there is not a whole lot left over. Aaron wants me to put everything in a trash bag instead of letting animals get into it. And I don't know, for a first time, what do you guys think I got? She probably wasn't a 200-pound deer. That's just probably what I'm seeing. Probably more like, I don't know, I'm not good at this. Maybe 180 or something. But what do you guys think? If you had a good yield with what you're seeing, there's obviously some more fat inside. Again, you got all the bones and everything here, and you got a good couple pounds here easy. What do you guys think that you should net for a total out of an animal of that size? And it does make sense that if a butcher can get like 65 pounds because he's really good at cutting everything up, it would make sense that he could probably get 65 pounds out of like a massive like male, like a thick guy like this right here. But she's obviously not that thick, does not have as big of a neck or shoulder or rear end, etc. So I don't know. Maybe that's where they get 60 pounds from. This doe here got me 49.7 pounds. Our refrigerator is absolutely exploding. We need to get that guy down here as soon as possible. If not, we're gonna go have to get a cooler and at least get the refrigerator kind of unstocked with putting it on ice and then figuring out when we can go and get that refrigerator as fast as possible so we have more freezer space. But that's all I got for you guys. You can do it at home yourself. It's gonna take several hours. Another hand definitely helps out to kind of hold a leg or something as you're going down because it's just all slippery from being wet and on the trash bags or on tin foil that I had on the inside as I was kind of cleaning everything up a little bit more on the kitchen sink. But Erin's cleaning up right now. She's not too happy. She said she wanted no part of this at all. And then she's holding deer meat and helping me vacuum bag and stuff like that. And last night she actually had to drive the tractor on out to get it to pull up because I couldn't pull and use the tractor. And the tractor's rear tires were just spinning because it's just a little lawnmower. If I had this guy out, that would have been another story. But I hope you guys enjoy that. I hope you guys learn a little something. Again, everybody's thought process is different on how they want to eat meat and hunt and not hunt, etc. But that's the way that I do it. We have more than enough meat to feed our family, and we're probably going to give it away to some locals. Maybe my dad, my mom, etc. when I go up there, and maybe even my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law, since he's the one that gave me the primers for my black powder. So just spreading that love and keeping the meat and letting everybody enjoy it. So I'm gonna clean up this massive mess of a garage here, and I hope you guys again enjoyed something. If you did, hit the thumbs up. If you got anything to say, message down below. And if you want to see the process a little bit more or see behind the scenes little stuff, check us out on Instagram at NeckofTheWoods 2020. And until then, we'll see you guys next time. Take care.